Go. Welcome to tonight's Tanya class. We are studying tonight chapter 13. In Hebrew it's called Perek Gimel. We are going to be discussing more in depth about the personality, the neshama, the soul of the Beinoni. Now, since some are new and some have been here before, so in short, basically the Alter Rebbe describes different spiritual personalities, namely one being a tzaddik, who is completely righteous, a Rasha, someone that is wicked, and we are talking about the Beinoni. So we're going to go in depth a little more to learn about the Beinoni, just to give a general overview, and then we're going to go in depth as follows. The Beinoni is someone that in thought, speech, and action, 100% solid and strong. Meaning to say is like this. What does it mean solid and strong? Because every single person has, in Hebrew it's called the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara, or in English it's called the good side, the bad side, the evil side. In other words, we have two energies within us. We have a Nefesh Elokis, a godly soul, and the Nefesh Bahamis, an animal soul. Now a tzaddik, he killed his animal soul. So he's driving just with his Nefesh Elokis, just with his Yetzer Tov, and he has no distractions in life. The Rasha basically, he disabled his Nefesh Elokis. He didn't get rid of it, but he disabled it. He disabled his Yetzer Tov, and the full force, the one that he listens to and he follows exclusively, is his Yetzer Hara and his Nefesh Bahamit. The Beinoni, and that's really the art that we're dealing with this week, the heart and the art that we're dealing with this week of the life of the Beinoni, because the Beinoni is somebody that his Yetzer Tov is there and active, his Yetzer Hara is there and active, his Nefesh Elokis, his godly soul is on fire, and his Nefesh Bahamis is also alive and well. So the question is, what is he? Is he a tzaddik? Well, you can't say he's a tzaddik because he has his animal soul and his Yetzer Hara. Could you say he's a Rasha? No, because he has his Yetzer Tov. So then, but what is he? Is he just confused? But the answer is...
He can choose.
He can choose. And the answer is we're going to learn today that the Beinoni, and we discussed at length last week, but we're going to go deeper into today, that the Beinoni basically, and again, in his thought, all his thoughts for the life of the Beinoni, his thoughts are all what? Godly and coming from the Yetzer Tov. That means he thinks positively, he thinks happily, he thinks about God, he thinks about godliness, he thinks about helping people, he thinks selflessly. All his thoughts, 100, and it's pretty good, because think about it, your thoughts are working 24/7. Yeah. So the fact that his thoughts are constantly involved and immersed in godliness, that's great. His speech is all God and godliness. He speaks positively, he has compliments, he has nice things to say, he's talking pleasant words, uplifting words, inspiring words, happy thoughts, and so on and so forth. His actions are all godly. Does mitzvot, godly, doesn't transgress. So that's a pretty high level. Pretty high level. Almost like a tzaddik, right? Right. So what's the difference? What's the difference? The difference is very simple. True, in the world of thought, speech, and action, there really is no difference between a tzaddik and a Beinoni. They both are 100% on the same level. Where plays out the difference? So as we mentioned before, the tzaddik killed his animal soul. Yeah. So he has no urge or anything stirring him to want to do something forbidden, for sure not. And even to do something permissible just to indulge in physical pursuits or enjoyable pursuits that's not for the sake of God, fun. No interest. No interest. That doesn't come on the radar. The Beinoni, here's where the struggle of the Beinoni is. The Beinoni, his animal soul has eyes and sees the world. I mean, soul eyes. And has an urge to do things which are inappropriate.
To tempt him.
Or to do things which are appropriate but not necessarily godly. And therein lies the battle. So the battle never comes to the world of thought, speech, and action, because then he would go over to the category of a Rasha. But the battle is only in the urge level. I really want to do that. You know, it's like you really want to eat the piece of chocolate cake, but you don't eat it, so you're like a Beinoni there. Right? You can, well, if you think about it, I don't know, it's not the whole question, but the point is when you have the urge, so the tzaddik has no urge for it. It's zero, it means nothing to him. The Beinoni wants it, but then he stops. So here we're going to learn today what takes place, because you want to know about the battle. Because by knowing the battle, that's you know how to overcome it. So the Alter Rebbe explains the interesting term that the Alter Rebbe uses. He says that it says when it refers to the mainly it says zeveze shoftan. It uses the term of a shofet. What's a shofet? A shofet is a judge. Now, what does that mean? It means like this: if you have a court case, right, and you have 3 judges sitting there, so you have one on the right, one on the left, and the older judge that basically, so to speak, he's the one that sways the vote. So if you have, let's say, one judge that says, "Hey, this one's right," and the other one says, "This one's wrong," what do? 1 against 1. So whoever the third one picks, that's where it goes to. If he says it's wrong, it's wrong. If he says it's right, it's right. Or we go based on the majority. Same thing happens also. The godly soul says, "Oh, I just want to pray, I want to study, I want to do mitzvot, I just want to have positive thoughts, godly thoughts," right? And that's what I'm talking about from an energy level, from a soul level. The animal soul says, "What's wrong with sitting down now for an hour and gossiping? We're not killing anybody, right? Or just going out and doing something, maybe not necessarily the most appropriate thing, but all right, 5 minutes, we can enjoy life a little bit, right?" So that's the other judge. The animal soul, the Yetzer Hara. What happens now? How do you come to a conclusion? So here comes a beautiful concept. The Alter Rebbe teaches us that there is another player here. What's the other player? Who's the third? The third is God. Oh. God comes in and says, "Guess what? You really are, I see you're struggling with the animal soul. I see how much you really want to study and you want to pray and you want to have healthy thoughts and happy thoughts and positive thoughts and optimistic thoughts and so on and so forth. And I know the animal soul is giving you like a hard time. He's testing you. But because you're fighting him and you say, no, we're going to be positive. We're going to be optimistic. We're going to, treat everyone nice, even though maybe they weren't nice to us. But it's 1 against 1. I'm going to come in. I'm going to give you a little push. I'm going to help you out."
He's the middle one.
So God is the middle one. He's the middle strong judge that helps out. Now, that only works because the godly soul is working. But if the godly soul goes to sleep, God's not going to be the second one. God will only be the third. God will only kick in as the third. God is not going to fight your animal soul for you. If you do your part, God will help you push it through. But if you don't do anything, God's not in the equation. So when the godly soul gets up to do his part, and the animal soul fights him, he'll win. Now, this is a constant battle. Constant battle. So because it's a constant battle, you have to always be on guard and on the lookout, knowing that at any moment when you start like getting tired, you're getting hungry, that's when the animal soul knows you. Animal soul knows every single weak point you have. That's why they say you want to live a godly life, always make sure that you're fed, always make sure you're not thirsty, right? You're not exhausted, because if you are, the animal soul will get you. So you always want to make sure you stay ahead of the game. Now, the Alter Rebbe deals now with another thing, and this is extremely important. What happens is, let's say you're in a good rhythm. You ever get in a good rhythm? Life is going good. Listen, thought, speech, and action, you're doing amazing. Because action, you would never sin. And you're only going to do positive things. Speech, you're only going to say positive things. You would never even say anything negative. And thoughts are all positive. You're never going to say anything negative. It's all godly, right? So you have a good rhythm. Now, you have a battle with the animal soul. So you fight. You say, listen, you know what? Thank you very much. Have a good day. God helps you. You're doing good. Correct? There's a term in America, which they borrowed it from here. And it says, failure by success. What does it mean, failure by success? Failure means by success. You're doing great. Action is great. Speech is great. Thought is great. You even have the battle is going good. You have God helping you. You're standing up for your rights. God's helping you. Doing wonderful. So what can happen is you can think, guess what? I'm doing great.
Got it made.
You got it made. So you go sit down and you start relaxing. right? You start relaxing. So what happens? The minute you close your eyes, I don't mean physically, the minute you close your eyes and you relax, you say, oh, everything's wonderful. It means I don't have to do any work. You think for a second you don't have to do any work. Guess what happens? Animal soul kicks in, the Yetzer Hara kicks in, and before you know it, you're now going backwards. So therefore the Alter Rebbe says, therefore a person, even though you're doing great in thought, speech, and action, and even though in the battle you're doing great, and you have God helping you, but in your mind, have a little sign and say, but the truth is, let's be honest, am I a tzaddik? No, because I have an animal soul. So I'm like a Rasha. I'm not like a Rasha, God forbid, in action. I'm not like a Rasha in speech. I'm not like a Rasha in thought. But I am like a Rasha because I have an active animal soul. In other words, I am like a tzaddik in thought, speech, and action, and that's true, 100%. You can pat yourself on the back for that. But you are like a Rasha, not in thought, speech, and action. Because you got to put the card straight. You're not in thoughts, but the fact is you have an active animal soul that is every moment trying to take over. Fine, you're winning. He never got his foot on the playing field. He never got involved in your thought, speech, and action. I grant you that. But he's still alive. So the Alter says you should always think of yourself like Kir Rasha, not Rasha. What's the difference between Rasha and Kir Rasha? Rasha means you're wicked. You're not wicked. Kir Rasha means you're like a Rasha. What does that mean? You have one of those components of a Rasha, namely that your animal soul is alive and well and feisty and loaded up with ammunition, ready to take over. So by doing that, you're always on guard. How are you always on guard? Because, you know what, as life as great is, but guess what? I'm not arrogant to think that I can't be attacked. And as you think you can't be attacked, you're bulletproof, you're fail-proof, you're attack-proof, guess what? Now you're sleeping. And while you're sleeping, the enemy comes in, and now you're finished. So, failure by success comes from here. Okay.
I have to stay awake and aware.
Awake and aware. Which, what the Alter was teaching us so far is two things. Number one is that the battle is constant. And because the battle is constant, you have to always work at it. And don't be afraid, because ultimately God will come and help you. God will help you. But how do you remain alert? Always know that I have, unfortunately, my animal soul is alive and well, and therefore in a certain way I'm almost like a Rasha. I'm not a Rasha in practice, thought, speech, and action, or in taking over of my decision making, but in ability to take me over 100%. The Rasha I can be just like a Rasha if I'm not on top of the situation. So, what am I supposed to do? If you want to stay awake and you want to stay alert,
Ask for God's help.
For sure you ask for God's help. So what's a simple way? What did we discuss? What's a simple way to stay strong? So we know that the best thing you can do is be busy with who? With God. Because the last thing you want to do is do nothing. Because no such thing is doing nothing. Doing nothing means you're leaving room for the animal soul to take over. So what is the best agenda to stay a Beinoni and not fall, God forbid, to the left? In other words, could a Beinoni become a tzaddik? Very, very hard. Why? Because you have to get rid of the animal soul. And that is a very, very hard task. It says King David, his whole life, he worked and got rid of his animal soul. By the end of his life, he got rid of him.
But it took him a whole life.
A whole life. But until then, he was living the life of the Beinoni. Correct? So in other words, so you need to have an agenda. Because if you're not going to be proactive in fighting the animal soul, it's going to creep in. In other words, there's no such thing as sitting idle. You sit idle, you're going to be attacked. So you have to be proactive. So how can you be proactive? So therefore, we have two simple solutions how to be proactive. One is very simple. First one is study Torah. When? Always. 24/7, you should be busy studying Torah. Now, what happens if you study? Obviously, besides if you have a job, you have to work, or if you have kids to take care of, or yourself to take care of, your spouse, your parent, whatever you have to be busy with, fine, that's an exemption. But your default setting is, what am I doing? I study Torah. Yeah, true, I pray and I do mitzvot and everything. But since I have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is a lot of time. And if I'm not going to actively be busy and filling that time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? Months, years, etc. What's going to creep in? The animal soul. The Yetzer Hara is ready to creep in. Ready at any moment. He wants to take over the wheel. So therefore, what are we supposed to do? Study Torah. Now, so therefore, if you get up in the morning, you have your daily schedule, there's no gaps. There's a gap, you're studying Torah. What happens when you're studying Torah? Think about it. When you're studying Torah, you take out a book, whether it's a Chumash, a Mishnah, Talmud, whatever it may be, and you're reading Torah. So first of all, you're holding a book. Your mouth is moving. Because when you study Torah, by the way, if you take a book and you just look at it, that's not studying Torah. Studying Torah requires two things. Saying the words and thinking what you're saying. So if you're just looking at the words, just like looking at a painting, I mean, it's not Torah study. It's interesting, but it's not Torah study. Torah study means you're sitting there, you're reading the words, and you're thinking what you're saying. We're sitting with a chavrusa, with a study partner. One is reading, one is listening, right? You're thinking what the other one's saying, and you're having a conversation about it. So as long as you're constantly studying Torah, guess what? Do you think the animal soul has a place to put his foot in? No, you're busy.
No room.
No room. I'm studying, I'm discussing, I'm thinking about it, there's no room. What happens when you stop studying Torah and you're doing nothing? Guess what happens? Immediate takeover. An immediate takeover. That's not good. So therefore you're supposed to study Torah constantly. Now, so what happens if you're a Beinoni, or you want to be the Beinoni? So obviously in action, you only do mitzvot, don't do transgress. Speech, you only say, godly things, positive things, Torah things, etc. Thought is always positive, happy, healthy, loving, kind thoughts. And now you're filling your time. All your time is filled with Torah study. Correct? So the question is, that's great. So how come you're not a tzaddik?
What's number 2? That was number 1.
Oh, we didn't get to 2. Well, very good. We didn't get to. They keep me on.
That's how
we didn't get to.
I'm a tzaddik yet.
No, we didn't get. We'll get to 2 in a second.
Okay.
One second. So how come you're not a tzaddik? You're filling your time constantly with Torah study. Why aren't you tzaddik? And the answer is again.
Action.
No, because the truth is that in action and in speech and in thought, you're filling your time exclusively with God. Your godly soul is the primary force and the active force on all levels. The animal soul does not have a foot in because basically you got yourself busy and there's no way for him to get his foot in. Right?
Yep.
But what's the difference? The difference is very simple. The minute you stop studying Torah, you can study for 10 hours straight and be in a spiritual high. You see, I'm going to not go to sleep, because sleeping, you're sleeping. Let me just go chill for an hour and do nothing.
That's what it can get you.
The animal soul he's not dead.
It's waiting.
He's waiting. He's waiting. So here's the thing. It's almost like because you get in such a high from learning, you feel great. Okay, now let's go sit down and do nothing. Or let's gossip a little. Whoa, you know who's gossiping? Your animal soul. He just took over. So, but it's tzaddik, that will never happen. Because the animal soul is killed, it's dead. By the Beinoni, you still have an active force waiting to take over. And he's very patient. And the minute you stop learning, so in other words, the Beinoni, Yeah, so far we dealt with one way. We'll get to the second in a second. I didn't forget you.
Okay.
So you can fill your time with studying Torah.
You're letting your animal soul get involved. You keep her busy.
Good. You keep right, but the animal soul is still alive and well. So because it's still alive and well,
Waiting.
it's waiting.
But is it ever not waiting?
Get you.
If you're a tzaddik, it's not waiting. It's gone. For the Beinoni, it's always waiting.
Always waiting.
Knowing that is, and remembering that, because each of us forget. You know, we like, when we get comfortable, okay, guess what? Life is good. No. That's when all the problems start, when you say life is good. Keep on going. Don't stop. So, but the minute you stop, it'll creep in. It'll creep in. So in other words, we learned this concept before. It's something which is called moyach shalit al alev. The mind rules over the heart. In other words, what does that mean? The godly soul's in the mind, and the animal soul's in the heart. By studying Torah, what you're achieving is moyach shalit al alev, which means that your mind is taking control of your life, and you're busy studying Torah, and you're talking about Torah, and you're arguing about Torah. So your mind is very, very occupied with Torah study, and therefore the heart, where the animal soul is, quiet. How can he get in there? There's no way he can get into the door.
Until you stop studying.
Until you stop studying. But you have to remember, as great as life is when you're studying, stop, you're in trouble. But you see, the reason why you can get into trouble is because you think like, hey, wow, I'm studying, life is great. There's no way he's going to get into the door. You're right, as long as you're studying. As long as you're studying. You stop studying, you're finished. Now, so that was one way.
I have here, the animal soul can get you. Always be on guard, because when you relax, that's when it can get you.
Correct. That's one way.
What he said.
That's one way. The second way, the second way is like this. Second way is like this. What do we say again? The godly soul has to be busy in a proactive way creating a relationship with God. So one way of creating that relationship is through Torah study. The second way is by what? Mitzvot is true,
Action.
correct, action. But more on a soul level, is through prayer. Because when a person prays, what happens when you pray? I'm not saying, again, let's define what prayer means. Prayer means to take the book, the prayer book, and read the prayers, say them, and also feel the prayers. Or if it's not a formal prayer of a prayer book, it's basically just opening up your heart to God, opening your soul to God, in verbal communication, meditative communication, which is in a certain way, on a spiritual level, it's much stronger, more powerful than Torah study. Because Torah study is your mind. You're reading and you're studying and you're thinking, etc. This is more feeling, but feeling not a lower level of feeling, a higher level of feeling, a soul level. Right? Your whole soul is moving in prayer. So when a person prays, and again in this case, when the Beinoni prays, guess what happens? Do you think the animal soul is getting in? No, he's busy praying. He's in love with God. And the more you pray, and you keep yourself busy with praying and studying and all your free time, guess what? He's not coming in the door. He can't come in the door. But, even though as great as your prayer is, and while you're praying you have this tremendous love for God in a tangible way, you can feel the love that you have for God. You feel the connection. And you can pray for hours, and you can look at yourself, or someone can look and say, oh my gosh, I never saw someone so holy like this guy. This must be a tzaddik, right? But if you're really not a tzaddik,
No.
the prayer service will not kill your animal soul. Your animal soul is still there.
Alive.
So what happens after you stop praying?
It jumps in.
Animal soul's taken over. So you can be this nicest guy, you can be this holiest person in the prayer service. This most dedicated to God through prayer or Torah study. The minute prayer service is over, guess what? You're exposed.
You're finished.
You have an open door for the animal soul to come right in and take over. However, you see, when the tzaddik prays, it's a whole different prayer. Because he's praying, his godly soul is praying, and when he's done praying, there's no animal soul to come in.
No.
By the Beinoni, the animal soul is still alive. Fine, keep yourself busy, you'll do great. That's why we have something which is called regular mitzvot, and we have something which is called mitzvot tmidiot. We have mitzvot that are consistent and constant. So for example, Torah studies when? Consistent and constant. Prayer service, it says in the Talmud. Halavai, it should be the wish that someone should pray all day long. Sheispal kol yom kulo, a person should pray all day long, because if you pray all day long, what will happen? You're plugged in. You have a mitzvah of simcha, to be happy, right? That is what? Consistent and constant. Mitzvah to love God, consistent and constant. To be in awe of God. And as long as you're in love of God, which is active in love of God, and that happens through prayer, you're in awe of God, right, through proper meditation, you're in joy with God, you're studying Torah, you're praying, where's the animal soul have room? There's no room for him. The party room is busy. But what happens when the party room gets emptied, right? The prayer left, the Torah study left, the joy left, the love left, the awe left, empty party room, he's coming at the party. I don't blame him. An empty party room would be working, right? Otherwise, how are they making money, right?
I love that it's a party room.
Absolutely. Judaism is about a party, a spiritual party.
And the animal soul loves party.
But we're talking about the godly soul.
The godly
Keep
soul,
the animal soul out.
room.
But the godly, but by the way, no, I agree with you. The goal is that the godly soul should inspire the animal soul that he should love the Jewish party. He should love the joy and the love and the awe and the prayer and the Torah study. Not that you should have two different parties. When you're praying and you're studying, so the animal soul should feel left out. Include him. Say, don't you enjoy this piece of Talmud or this Mishnah or the piece of Chumash, or like, let's look at God. Let's get in love with God and enjoy.
They're going, who brought him? Who brought the animals?
Bring him in, because if he'll enjoy that party, he won't bother you for his own party. You got make him part of your party.
He has energy to have all for God.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. It's our job. We gotta inspire him.
You
Mine
can
does.
convert the animal soul, is what you're
Convert it.
suggesting.
That's it.
And then
You
if
can-
that's feasible, is that a goal? And then once that goal is achieved, there's no more animal soul. Now what do we do?
No, it's still an animal soul,
no,
but
no.
it's just
No, once the animal soul is gone and it becomes part of the godly soul, that's the level of a tzaddik. The tzaddik has a different service in the world. We'll talk about that, but you're right. That's the whole different service in the world. But the tzaddik Beinoni has a different service. Now, here comes an interesting dilemma the Alter Rebbe deals with like this. And he brings up a fascinating dilemma, which is an important dilemma, and the reason why he brings it up is because the animal soul, or the naysayers, or the mockeries will bring it up, and he basically confronts the issue head on. He says like this: so what are you telling me? Think about this. You go to synagogue and you pray, wow, you're in love with God, right? And you look like this holy guy. You go ahead and you study, right? And you're studying and you're having a tremendous relation with God. And then you stop studying, you stop praying. Listen, you're human, you need a break. And all of a sudden the animal soul's here, taking over. Hey, let's go party, let's have a good time, right? So the question is, hold on.
what do we do?
So the question is, was that prayer service real? Was the Torah study real? Because if it's real, how is the animal soul getting in there? How does the animal...
That's a good question.
So now here's
Right?
an interesting thing. The animal soul is so pervasive, so alert, ready to pounce,
Absolutely.
get into almost any crevice.
Correct.
So there's quite a power there.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to say, is it more powerful than the godly soul, but apparently...
No, so we said before that as long as the godly soul stands up to it, he has the edge, because God will come in and bring the troops in.
Understood, but you're always on that edge.
You're absolutely,
the fiddler
yes.
on the roof.
You're always on the edge. You're always on the edge.
So, I mean,
it's always a
godly
struggle. It's always a...
soul is quite...
It's there to keep you on your
powerful.
toes. Absolutely, it's there to keep you on your toes.
But it keeps you on your toes, so if you need help, you say, God help
God,
me.
absolutely, yes. You need help, say God. So back to the question. So the question
Ask
is,
God for help.
right? You ask yourself, now obviously you're not really, the godly soul's not really asking, it's the animals are trying to pull you down, or someone else's animal trying to pull you down. Come on, you pray. 2 minutes later, look, after the prayer service, you're already going out and doing things which are inappropriate, right? Or at least you want to do them. Or this is called Torah study. So the answer is like this. And here the Alter Rebbe introduces a concept which is called emes. What does emes mean? Emes means truth. Emes means truth. So the question is, when you're studying Torah, is this truthfully studying Torah? Because if it is, how come it doesn't last? Or if you're praying, if it isn't really true prayer, because if it's true prayer, how come it doesn't last? So the Alter Rebbe explains like this, that there's something which is called emes la'amitaso. If you notice, it said the word emes twice. Emes la'amitaso, the truth of the truth. And then there's something which is called emes, which is truth. What does that mean like this? Truth of the truth is like the life of the tzaddik. What does that mean? That the life of the tzaddik is, he prays, and he studies, and he does mitzvot, and that's his whole life, 24/7. So is he a tzaddik 24/7? Yes, that's called the truth of the truth. It's real prayer, it's real Torah study, and the proof of it's a protection 24/7 for him. But then there's something which is called emes, not lamitaso, because you can say that the Beinoni is truth of the truth, because the fact is after the prayer service, in a certain sense you can call it wears off, or after the Torah study it wears off, but it is 100% truth. And the author explains why. Because the tzaddik has no animal soul, so the truth for him means that he prays, he studies, he does mitzvot, and it has an effect. There's nothing fighting it. But because the Beinoni, the dynamic of the Beinoni is that there is a godly soul and an animal soul, so therefore when he prays, he is praying 100% truthfully with the capabilities that he has. When he's studying Torah, he's studying 100% truthfully with the capabilities that he has. But because he's made up of a different dynamic than the tzaddik. He's the Beinoni that has an active animal soul. So therefore when he finishes praying, and he finishes studying Torah, the animal soul will creep in because of the dynamic that he has a living demon within him. So is his prayer service emes? 100%. While he's praying, there's no other thoughts other than God and the relationship with God. While he's studying, the only thought he has is about the thing that he's studying and the relationship to God through the study that he's studying. So it's 100% real. Is it real where it affects him 24/7? No. But it's 100% real. Like for example, the author gives an example where it says in the Torah that we light the candles in the temple tamid. Tamid means steady, right? So it means steady. Steady can mean steady means you light it and it's always on. That means tamid. Or tamid means you light it every single day. That's also steady. Steady means every morning, for example, 9 o'clock you light the candles, or every evening 9 o'clock you light the candles. That's steady. So the point is, there's two types of steady. The steady which is 24/7. So that's the steady of the tzaddik. 24/7, God, prayer, Torah study, mitzvot, nothing else exists. There's another steady. I have my prayer service in the morning. Every morning I'm doing my prayer service. Every afternoon I'm doing my prayer service. Every evening I'm doing my prayer service. I have my study sessions, and those are steady for the hour or two that I dedicated to study or pray or whatever it may be. It's true. Now, compared to the level of a tzaddik, is that truth? No, but it's not about comparing here. Yeah, you want to call the tzaddik level truth of the truth, absolutely. But the level of the Beinoni is truth for his level.
But the key word is while he's studying.
While he's studying, it's 100% truthful, and it's truthful also because it's consistent. You know, if he studied one day and tomorrow, and then he missed 3 days, that's not truth. That's not consistent. Truth means that there's a pattern that's truth and consistent. So if you study every single day the same amount or the same amount of time, if you pray every single day Shachris Mincha Ma'ariv, that is 100% truth, and it's consistent and it's steady because you're doing it every day. Obviously, if you break that, then already you broke, that itself is broken. But a Beinoni is consistent. He prays 3 times a day, he studies, X amount of hours a day, and so on and so forth. So while he's studying, it's truthful, and the fact that it's consistent is truthful. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, yes, compared to a different level, it's not that truthful. But the reality is, the Beinoni has to do the work of the Beinoni. The tzaddik does the work of the tzaddik, and as long as the Beinoni does his work consistently, and enthusiastically, and with his level of truth, it's 100% considered true. It's 100% considered truthful. So in other words, if someone says to you, oh look, you prayed, and now you're doing this, or you studied, now you have all these temptations, 100%. While I prayed, I was there 100%. While I studied, I was there 100%. Now I don't have that protection, so that's why the urge is coming in. What's the answer? As we said before, keep on studying, keep on praying.
I like that word. It was his protection.
Absolutely, it was his protection. And you see, the reality is that the way God created us that our mind works 24/7. You can't stop it. Like you said, what are you thinking about now? Nothing? It's not true. You're thinking about something. You can choose what you're thinking about, or you can get random thoughts in you. So therefore, the tzaddik naturally 24/7, he's thinking about God. His relationship with God, how he can bring people closer to God. Because your question before, what is, when you get rid of the animal soul, what does the tzaddik do? He's thinking how he can bring the world closer to God. Right? He's thinking how he can bring the world closer to God. One second. But the Beinoni, on the other hand, he has to be busy constantly filling his mind. Because the last thing you want to do, as it says in the Talmud, a person that's bored could bring to the worst sins. Because there's no such thing as bored. You're going to be busy with something. You're either going to choose what you're going to be busy with, or by default, someone else. If you have good friends, they'll be busy with good stuff. Come to this mitzvah, come to that mitzvah, come to a class, come to an event, whatever it may be. But if not, someone negative or whatever is going to pull you into something no good. So the key point that I think the key message the author is giving in chapter 13 of Tanya is as follows. To know that even though, yes, in action you would never do certain things and you're only going to do the right things, and in speech you're always going to say the right things, you would never say anything wrong, and in thought you're always going to have positive thoughts, but know that you have an animal soul that's alive and well, and it's constantly trying to get in, but don't give up, because the godly soul has power, and as long as you're willing to fight it, God will help you. God will help you, but remember that even when you're going to be successful, remember that you didn't kill the animal soul.
It's waiting.
And it's waiting. And therefore, you have to be busy studying Torah, praying, thinking about how you can have a relationship with God, thinking about your love for God, thinking about how you can be happy, how you can make other people happy. And the fact that you're still struggling, and this is where a lot of people fall, the fact that you're struggling, that's because you have an animal soul within inside of you that you can control. So don't get down on yourself, oh my gosh, like I stopped praying, I stopped studying, I stopped doing mitzvot, guess what? It's just going to take me over. Okay, fine, you know that. But God gave you a remedy. There's plenty of Torah to study. You can live your whole life. Plenty of Torah study to study. There's plenty of prayer you can do. There's plenty of mitzvot you can do. There's plenty of joy celebrations you can go to. You make a joyous celebration. Be busy with, cooking for Shabbos, making Shabbos, whatever it is. As long as you're busy with something good, guess what? You're not giving the animal soul busy. So you can't complain that the animal soul wants to do something. The only thing you can do is be proactive and get busy with something positive before it gets busy with something negative. And that's why I think this chapter 13, is a very, very important chapter. Because it gives you the brutal honesty about the reality of the life of the Beinoni. That the life of the Beinoni, on one hand, is great, because the fact is, in thought, speech, and action, you're doing wonderful. And even in the world of your godly soul, you're in the right place. But know that the animal soul's fighting you. You can fight it, you'll be successful because God's there with you, and as long as you keep that in mind, you're not going to fail because of your success. Because you'll know that as successful as you are, you know that if you don't keep on working on it, in a minute you can be taken over.